What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Alphaville. And we're moving on to the 1994 album Prostitute, though I have to note, in the materials I was given, shout out to Yun, there's a 1994 single called Fools, which features not only the proper single, but a few different remixes, including the Seven Seals mix. So I'm curious about all that, but I also noticed the second track on Prostitute is in fact Fools. So we'll go through the full album here, and then when we finish that, I'll go through the remaining mixes of Fools. But yes, Prostitute 1994, the first track is Paradigm Shift, and I can tell you, as a student of history, my degrees are in history, and as someone who's particularly interested in the history of science and the philosophy of science, I can tell you that phrase comes from a now deceased philosopher of science, an American named Thomas Kuhn. And I won't get too arcane here, but he used the word paradigm in a few different ways, fundamentally as the methods, the understandings, and framework for a given discipline, but he also used paradigm within the concept of paradigm shift, meaning when someone comes up with a new interpretive framework, a new idea, a new way of looking at the data, oftentimes some scientists will gravitate toward this new idea, others will be resistant, and there will be debates and discussions, and over time, the older guard who were resistant will end up passing away, and a newer generation of scientists who are more familiar with this idea will then rise into the ascension, and over time, it ends up that translates to an entirely new way of doing things. It becomes the current, I'm going to say, dogma, or the current theoretical dominant model. And in that way, a revolution in science is less about, and this is according to Kuhn, there are people who disagreed with what he said, but a scientific revolution is not so much about someone doing an experiment that reveals an empirical truth that is then broadcast to the world, and over time, people come to see the light and the truth of that idea. It's more that the new theoretical model becomes dominant such that it encapsulates, or rather, pervades the discipline and becomes therefore the model that is then accepted as valid. And so a scientific revolution takes place theoretically, and so many people have talked about it's the way that science works. It's not just about what happens in the lab, it's about how people think about what happens in the lab. Now, I don't know if anything will be relevant in terms of Kuhn's ideas to this song, but that phrase bears special meaning for anyone who's studied the history of science, the philosophy of science, so I wouldn't be surprised if we hear Kuhn's name. Obviously, it could be about culture, society, politics, maybe even music itself, and the way that new styles and new forms end up supplanting those that came before, such that eventually maybe that process isn't even acknowledged as such, because now it's, well, yes, this is just the accurate way to look at things, and that was just an older way that didn't make sense. Some people talk about scaffolding, the way that older ideas can lead you to new ideas, and therefore, even if the old ideas are shown to be untrue, they still were essential to get to where you are. So you kick down the scaffolding once the new building is built, but it still was required to build that building. Again, maybe none of this is relevant, but it's a phrase when I saw it, I was like, oh man, I studied this so much when I was in grad school, I do have to talk about it. Luca, I may need my chair. Thank you. So here we go. This is Alphaville, the opening track on Prostitute 1994, and it's called The Paradigm Shift. Fascinating. So I'll try to focus on the lyrics while some of them are still in my head. I believe we heard phrases or terms like discovery, answers, system of belief. I feel like on some level there might be relevance to what the concept means, scientifically or philosophically, to Kuhn's idea, basically, or set of ideas. But at the same time, I feel like there were some other words in there that I'm not sure how they might fit in. The flow of the river. I do love the way the line before that and the river flow line really had a bendy, continuous vocal melodic quality to them. It really felt like it was an expression of what it was talking about vocally. So the Sonics overall, they had this deep bass feeling in a lot of parts, especially a guitar that sounded like it was phasing in and out. The whole percussion and rhythmic scheme was very syncopated and churning. It felt like it kept turning over and turning over. Marian's voice is always fantastic. It's one of the things that I've enjoyed most about Alphaville. I will say this sounds very different from some of their more dance, 80s style hits. Sounds like a melody I'll always go back to, big in Japan. So yeah, it feels like definitely moving into different territory. Now, having gone through the Breathtaking Blue, I already felt there was a lot of change and a lot of exploration sonically. So it doesn't surprise me that this sounds very different from something they did in, say, 86 or so on, but it does sound very different. So yeah, exploring genres that are beyond maybe what they're most known for, and continuing to do so, but a really compelling opener, even if I'm not quite sure what it's about. So yeah, I'll be curious to hear what people have to say. Let me know what you think. Shout out to Yun once again, and I will see you next time. Peace.